5 for 5. And as you'll have heard, Formula One is returning to Bahrain in October. The Grand Prix has been reinstated instead of the race in India, which is now scheduled for December the 11th. And I'll be back in 20 minutes with more on those stories.
Jonathan, thanks very much. And we're going to pick up with the last of those stories, the Bahrain Formula One, which has been rescheduled to take place later this year, despite widespread opposition. Almost 300,000 people had signed an online petition calling for the race to be scrapped. But following a fact-finding mission to assess the political situation in Bahrain, Formula One officials say the decision to go ahead with the race reflects the country's moves towards political reform. Zayed Rashid Al-Zayani, chairman of the Bahrain International Circuit, says the race will boost morale and the nation's economy.
We feel that the Grand Prix brings for us a big moment of pride, of national pride. There is widespread support for rehosting the Grand Prix in Bahrain, and that was evidenced even by the statement issued by Al-Wifaq Society yesterday, which is the main opposition, acknowledging that and welcoming the Grand Prix to happen in Bahrain again. I mean, for us, it is a huge economic benefit to the economy. It contributes around $500 million a year in revenues to the economy, and I think the economy has taken a severe beating over the last few months, and it's very much welcomed back, and it will benefit all the citizens and all the parties in Bahrain.
Well, Sam Barrett from Avaz, a group which campaigns on global issues, joins us now. As you heard, Mr. Zayani says it's a kind of endorsement of the reform process as he sees it, and the main opposition group is saying it should go ahead. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's not the economy that's taken a beating, it's the people of Bahrain that have taken a beating. I mean, just this week we've had people shot at in the centre of the main square, we've had people too scared to go to hospital because they may be taken away to prison. Many people just disappear in Bahrain. Journalists are not welcome there. Simply putting on a massive major sporting event there makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. I mean, Bahrain is probably one of the most brutal crackdowns we've seen in response to the uprisings. Rewarding them with this big race by Formula One today is a massive disappointment.
I mean, there's different bits to this, obviously, but one is whether the drivers and the teams and so on will go, and it would appear after that fact-finding mission, at least the officials want them to go. I mean, do you see some leverage there for those campaign groups like yours?
Well, I mean, we saw yesterday Mark Webber, a Red Bull driver, said that he'd be very concerned about the race going ahead. Damon Hill, who I spoke to yesterday, said that this makes no sense. So I think there's a lot of splits in Formula One, but sadly, money seems to be more important than morals, and 300,000 people have signed this petition just in one day. So it feels like Formula One are just putting their head in the sand, ignoring these absolutely horrendous human rights abuses that are happening in Bahrain. And I think Formula One, their decision today is just really, really bad.
Would you? So are you saying you would like the drivers and others just simply not to go, not because it's their own safety that's at risk, just to make a political statement?
I mean, I think Bahrain is not fit for a Formula One Grand Prix. I mean, this is the world's media go there. It's a great way of Bahrain saying they're now fit for business. I mean, this country is fit for the ICC rather than business. I mean, what they've done there is absolutely outrageous. So the decision today to allow this Grand Prix to be staged again is just a real snub to the hundreds of people who are being badly beaten, and also the thousands of people that signed this campaign today.
Just a final thought. What sort of reaction do you expect to this around the world? Because we have heard various campaign groups say it is interesting that Western countries are much less critical of what's been going on in Bahrain than obviously in Libya and in Syria. But the other response to that is different countries have different problems, so perhaps there needs to be a difference in response.
Well, I think the response we've seen to many of the Middle East uprisings has been really uneven. I mean, in Yemen there's been very little pressure. Bahrain, the decision by the Formula One community to go ahead is really bad. And also, I think what we've seen in Syria with very few sanctions being placed there. I mean, Avaz is very concerned about all of these uprisings and wants to support the protesters that are making their voice heard peacefully to see change happen. The decision by Formula One to allow this race to be restated today is like putting a race on in Zimbabwe or Iran. You just simply wouldn't do it. And I mean, one journalist said to me today, would you go on holiday in Bahrain? The answer to that is no. Therefore, why would you put on one of these major sporting events? I mean, journalists are not welcome in this country. Fans probably would be very unwise to go there, and the poor people that live there get beaten every day. So we'll see more protests in the coming days on this, I'm sure.
Sam Barrett, thanks very much for joining us.